That out of the background there. Lower this one. Yeah, we're actually getting stuff that I probably have to make annotations for, so it's not like that. What's going on, everybody? How's everything doing? Yeah, I knew it would be a little loud. That was the point. Had to take care of a couple of things, and I actually need to take care of looking at one more. Because it just started to rain over here, and I know how that affects my lovely streams. And oh my gosh, holy shit. We might get a storm. If that happens... Nope, it's all north. Alright, we should be just fine. I didn't know it was supposed to rain today. Oh well. So what's going on, everybody? Welcome. It's lovely Saturday, got the house to myself edition of streaming, which was completely unexpected, by the way. I thought about maybe starting it a little bit earlier, but I remembered that I had stated that the stream was going to start at 7, so I figured I would just stick with that. And it was a good thing I did, because I would not have gotten everything done that I needed to get done had I done that. Dun 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 dun. That's my new song. It sucks. That's the name of the song. The song itself actually rules. So we have a lot to really talk about very briefly, and I have a lot that I actually need to update whenever it comes to this. I put that over on Facebook, so I don't need Facebook anymore. Anybody who's over here who wants to spread the link around, make sure people know this is going on, feel free to do so. It is definitely appreciated. I'm sure that that's gone to Twitter. It's gone to the tweeters. I think I have to update my total. Yes, I do. I have to update the total for the Patreon. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Do I even remember what that is? Yes, I do. Still getting used to OBS. But I like it a lot. I think it's a pretty cool little protocol. There we go. That should show up for you in a couple minutes. Good Charlotte. Oh my gosh. My very first roommate whenever I was in college actually went to the same high school as Good Charlotte. That's a true story. They're from Maryland. And I guess it was pretty cool because whenever he was a freshman, they were seniors that were just about to break out and make it big. So, pretty cool. Pretty neato. But, we have new ones from Esau next week. We have new albums from a couple of others. I was just looking at this earlier, and I've already lost my memory. It's been quite a shitty day, for the most part, on my end. Lots of bad news coming and creeping in, but next week we have new albums. Also from the Deftones, from Zakk Wylde. Yeah, Book of Shadows 2 comes out next week. I'd like to get to all three of those, Esau, Deftones, and Zakk Wylde. See a couple of others that may just be interesting. Sometimes I like to get stuff just that kind of catches my eye, and I never ever seem to get a chance to actually review it. I want to talk about the new. I want to talk about the new November. I think that's going to happen tomorrow. And also, fucking Slice the Pie or Slice the Cake? What the fuck? I didn't even know about this project. I didn't. I'm going to be legit. I didn't know about this project at all until I checked the Facebook page. And here it's it has this really strange history to them, and it's not going very well right now. And yeah, I wanted to talk about I'm the Morning too, but I'm not even sure if I'm going to get to that because I haven't even acquired that album as of yet. So may have to just switch that out with something else. Who knows? Sometimes you just can't get everything that you want. That's just how it sort of is. Baby Metal with a 6.8 over on Metal Storm. That is, I'm telling you what, people are really, really, really uncomfortable about stupid shit. I'm telling you what, it's just the truth. I'm not even trying to start shit in my own stream. That'd be really dumb, but actually it probably wouldn't. Starting stupid crap about nothing. About nothing. Metallica's 2016 release probably will not end up being a 2016 release. I'm thinking that's going to take until 2017 for them to actually get it out. I know that they're working hard on it. My question is, how many people saw that Avenged Sevenfold little teaser for their new album that had like the little April Fool's joke going on whenever they first got started actually playing? I want to hear that. I want to hear them do an album in that style. That's what I want to hear because, goddamn, I like the blues a good bit. I missed the opportunity to review the new Joe Bonamassa last week, Blues of Desperation, which is fucking phenomenal. Really, really great A blues disc. Like it a lot. You got this Catch Metal Church. Hell yeah, Kevin. That rules. Right now, Passing Void, I don't think that Wes and Puddle of Mudd have any desire to break up, and I don't know at this point really why. Again, over on the fan group, there was a new link that was talking about the earlier in March, there was a standoff for Wes at his home that involved potentially up to 30 cops. I mean, that's ridiculous. That is freaking ridiculous. A buddy of mine, Josh, it's not really related. Josh Andrews asking about synth music. A buddy of mine actually was. I was watching a stream and he was in. He was one of the actual streamers. Well, he was more like guesting. And he listened to 2 hours of Eurobeat, and I think slowly but surely was being driven insane. Shout out to Killer MC if you come anywhere near this video. But it was pretty funny. Yeah, Wes has, I think, much deeper problems than just alcoholism. I think his is alcohol, his is drugs. I think that the whole ending of Fame really hit the guy like a brick wall. Oh boy, I hate that reflection of the screen. Like, even whenever it was a part of my videos, it pissed me off. And I tried to play it off. But I can't see the chat like this, so I'm going to have to deal with it, I think. I have shitty vision, so those sunglasses are just sort of more like a staple. Man. I used to wear contacts like a billion years ago, and then that was just, yeah. Everything is expensive. Life is expensive. It's especially expensive whenever former jobs try to come back and say that you owe them like $200, which is where I am right now, as of today, which is absolutely lovely. I mean, that was the best fucking letter to get from one of my former employers, that I owe them money, supposedly, which I do not. I know that I don't. I will be fighting that tooth and nail. And we'll probably end up still having to pay it because don't do insurance work. No, just don't do it. It's a complete and total drain. Yeah, just don't do it. Insurance is freaking whack. If you're pissed off at insurance companies, if you think that this country, America that is, has a real insurance problem, first of all, you're correct, and second of all, if you think that way, do not work for an insurance company. New tips for a new music reviewer. This is ironic, considering I did a presentation for some folks this past week. Not so much on that, but on the on album reviewing. Period. Long story short, It was very good, but very brief. The one thing you need to realize as a reviewer is that you have 3 sections to your review without even realizing it. You have an introduction, you have a body, and you have a conclusion. It's just like any other presentation that you give or paper that you write. Finding your own voice and everything like that is more so based around stylization and how you represent yourself. But the best thing that I will say is that whenever you get into your body, do not just generalize. Generalization is a big rookie mistake, easy to get into. Whenever somebody is running down a track listing and just says, yeah, it was good, and then goes to the next track, yeah, that was good too, and that's all the further that they go. You have to sort of ask in your mind certain questions that your audience might ask to you whenever you're sort of doing your review. Sometimes with some folks, it's easier for them to either pre-record or record multiple takes. You know, what made a song really good by comparison to others? Why is it that this feels like the standout song on the album? Or why does it seem like this one was a little bit more weak? You know, your material is very much dictated by what you're willing to represent, and you need to be able to paint a very nice articulate picture. Either that or really explain to your audience the reason why you're not. Like sometimes you'll hear me say in reviews that I don't want to give away too much. And that's the absolute truth. I don't want to tell people every single aspect about a record, because then it does ruin a little bit of the surprise. It's almost like all of those folks that do movie reviews and they're spoiling the movie for people that want to go and see it, you know, by providing plot information. But you almost have to represent that, because in order to really review a film, you need to be able to speak a little bit about the plot. You need to be able to speak about how it is, how it developed, if it was well written, well represented, you know, stuff of that variety. It's very hard to keep that at a minimum whenever you're trying to do spoiler-free. So you have to be willing to give information that is very solid. But you also have to make sure that you're preserving a little bit of that allure. You know, give them a reason to check out the album, but don't like give them the album in spoken form. Oh man, one of my friends is been texting me nonstop, and I love it. She's great. Why she is not in this stream, I don't know. She'd probably be distracting me there as well. That would be what life would probably be. So that would be, like, some of the best and easiest tips that I would give is avoid redundancy. Redundancy is not your best friend. It's, in fact, your worst enemy, because you sound like a broken record, and it doesn't actually tell your audience anything. Avoid lengthy introductions or conclusions. This is where I have a little bit of difficulty, quite frankly. Your setup for your body should be probably a minute tops, and I know that I had some reviews years ago where my setup was like 2 to 3 minutes. You know, I really loved background, and I really loved kind of asking those big questions, but by the time you get through that, there's been so many questions asked or so much that's been kind of presented that you wonder whether or not all of that has or can be answered within a 10-minute time period, or like even a 15-minute time period with some of my longer reviews. And whenever it comes to your information, make sure that you have a solid grip on it. People make a lot of stink over, you know, saying something incorrectly or basic information. Like if you fuck up one word of a title of a previous record or even the record that you're speaking of, I mean, I get that really makes it look very much like you didn't do any of the work, you know. How is it that you can talk to me about this album if you can't even get the name right or anything like that? But I think people harp on that a little bit too much, quite frankly. I think it's something where your information, your description, and the ability to really transmit your feeling on the album, as well as kind of create a little bit of mystique, create a little bit of that like tug in your soul that you have to listen to something. You know, if you can create that sort of charisma and emanate that onto an audience, there's a lot of folks that'll be willing to just kind of let that go. I'm getting a phone call. I will be right back. Hello. Hey, what's going on? Oh, I see. Well, don't worry about that. I got your message. So that was all that I really needed. So you can come back on me. Yeah, okay. Well, that's fine. That's all I really need. That's right where it should be. That's what I saw whenever I checked it. I just wanted to make sure it was. No, that wasn't no bare basic get it at Walmart shit right there. That was high class. Yeah, exactly. See. All right. That's right. All right. Well, I'm actually streaming. It's all good. Don't worry about it. What are you guys doing tomorrow? I may stop by. That's all I was thinking. Yeah. Alright. I'll see you tomorrow then. Alright, bye. Alright, later. My old man. That was my old man, and he's amazing. He's great. Will I review the new Devil Driver album? Yeah, I probably will whenever it drops. I've reviewed, I think, their last one or two, so I don't see why I wouldn't just touch base with that one. Do I think I was biased during the Book of Souls review? No. That's the one thing I will say. If anything, giving it a perfect 100 was a bit premature, as you know, I listened to it and it kind of just dropped like 1 or 2 points. Like I found little subtle things that kind of didn't harbor it having that perfect score, but were still really solid enough. Like if I would have reviewed it a month after it was released, there wouldn't have been a debate about Steven Wilson and the Book of Souls. It would have been crystal clear who was going to get the album of the year. That's all the more that it really was. I spin that disc probably, well, it's actually been about 2 weeks now, but for that first couple of months, that did not leave my car for a long time. Whenever I went on a road trip, you know, down to the southern part of West Virginia, that was all that I spun. It was that and Good Kid, Mad City by Kendrick Lamar, so that was a really big sort of like yin and yang, but I loved every fucking last second of it. So I just absolutely love that disc. I would probably consider it in Maiden's top 5, and if other reviewers think differently, that's fine. I mean, I have no problem with that. Everyone's entitled to their opinion whenever it comes to an album. You know, there's not any one be-all, end-all opinion. But really, to get back into what we were talking about with tips for reviewing, If you're just being universally negative and not encouraging people to try it out for themselves, then I don't get what you're trying to do. And there were one or two reviews of mine where I did just that, and surprisingly enough, one of them is one of my most popular, which is the Morbid Angel album review. I basically told everyone not to purchase a Lid Divinium Insanus, which, bad message actually. If I'm going to be critical of myself, bad message. Bad. Should be something where people still go out and support music regardless. But, honestly, I think that was a bit of an angle. You know, kind of in the moment. But, bad message, really. The new Sevenfold tease, I really, really enjoyed the first part of it. Like where they were playing something that was a little bit more bluesy. I'd like to see a lot more of that. Then the actual song itself, it sounds like them. That's kind of all that I have to say about that. It sounds like them. I've thought about doing a video about teases. Do they really give us all of that much? You know, did that tease tell you all of that much about the new A7X album? You know, I think all that it really did was say, oh, look, Avenged Sevenfold is actually in a studio doing demos, and they still know how to play like they're themselves, so, like the Metallica one. I didn't learn much from that. I didn't learn very much from that at all. Hey, Mittens, what's going on, buddy? Mittens is here. Will I ever do a discography review for Dark Tranquillity? Probably not. I reiterate during a lot of the streams, I don't do much in the way of discography reviews anymore. Still have to finish the Rush one, and we're going to have another one here come Monday. Although, the real question is kind of floating through my mind about certain situations, you know, all depending on who wins. This is actually a situation where if one band won, then they want a discography review. If the other band won, they already have one. So, yeah, it kind of gets a little bit twisted there. And that's another reason why I don't do discography reviews that often anymore, because it does kind of... There have been a lot of Music Madnesses that have kind of ended in sort of a weird way based off of that. I still do collect CDs. I don't get nearly the amount of like random stuff that I used to. You know, a lot of the stuff that I get is very much like business related, if you really want to call this business related. I used to get just an assload of just random stuff and just try it out, and I've kind of not had a lot of that same, you know, time that I've had before. So it's just sort of how that has gone. I would love to get back into the medium and build up that and the vinyl collection a little bit, because that has really stalled big time. So, something that's present there. I'm surprised there's only like 15 or 18 people here. I'm not saying I'm worthy of more, because I'm not. I'm very happy that the 18 of you are here. But, makes me wonder if that's, all those Facebook things that I dropped actually are being seen by anybody. I'm thinking that it didn't. I'm thinking it didn't roll around. It says that it has, but probably not. Facebook keeps telling me this is how you can get more likes, comments, and shares. After the brackets were made, who did I think would win? I'll be honest, I thought Slayer would. They went out way early. Like my own bracket got busted super quick. Porcupine Tree is not making any new music as of right now. They are not back together or anything like that. Steve right now is focused on his solo career. The other guys are focused on their own thing. They have not ruled out the idea of making more music together. It's just not where they are right now as far as the career is concerned. but they have never ruled out the idea that they would come back. It was always kind of stated as more of an indefinite hiatus as opposed to a breakup. And all of the solo members are pretty active. You know, they all do something in some capacity. Of course, Steve does his solo work. Gavin Harrison does a little bit of solo work, and then they do session work for other groups as well. I'm like really bothered by the fact that I'm not like perfectly like centered in there. It's like so pathetic that I'm a little OCD about that, but it's the truth. So, big update for this week is obviously that we are going to have a winner for Music Madness coming on Monday. That is going to be revealed. We have a couple of different reviews and stuff that are going to be coming up. The first and foremost, probably the most important one, which is the one that will be coming tomorrow, will be the new November album, which is Ursa. And then we also have albums from... Damn, I forgot the name of that band already. Again, Slice the Cake, Slice the Bread, Slice the Pie, whatever the fuck it is. My brain is not working right now. I have been like sufficiently distracted by my friend here. And then from that phone call and everything, I'm all sorts of fucked up. This is why I don't do live radio, because I would just go live and be like, well, Slice the Cake, thank you. Do I think Guns N' Roses are going to last, or are they going to break up again? This is probably just for touring. If they do new music, that'll be a mistake because it will suck. I don't care if you have Slash in there. I really don't. I really, really don't. Like, Slash could make it a solo record of his, and maybe it would be good. Maybe. But I really think that Slash is better off working with the lead singer of Alter Bridge and doing his own thing, and maybe even working with other people as well. I just think that's the best way for him to go right now. That's where his career has been. This feels like it's really unnecessary. But it's whatever. Whatever they want to do. They're going to get paid a lot of money this year. That's all that I will say, because people are super hyped for Guns N' Roses, and people still think that Axl Rose is like this super angel that deserves all sorts of respect and love and blah, blah, blah. And I just don't see it. I really don't. I don't see it whatsoever. I think Axl Rose is a fucking overhyped douchebag. You know, I've listened to Guns N' Roses material. And, you know, the material is not bad, but I think they're tremendously overrated. I think it's tremendously overrated material. And I got Chinese Democracy. I actually have that album. Fuck if I know where it is. It was in some bag somewhere, and it's gone now. I got it for free, so I'm not really all that broken up about it. My intention was to one day review it and then smash it with a hammer. Because that album was pure trash. Buckethead couldn't save that album's life if he tried. Now, I say that, but it's not the worst album I've ever heard. Not by a long shot. Like, that album at least had like 5 out of, I think it was either 12 or 14 competent songs. So it is not the worst album that I have ever heard. It's just not very good. And the stuff that I consider to be like decent on the record, I feel like I'm being a little generous. Like, that's the big thing. I felt like whenever I was... Because I did a track-by-track analysis of this on like an old message board 1,000 years ago that I will never be able to access, so I'll never see that review again for as long as I live. I felt a lot like I was giving these songs that I actually enjoyed way too much credit, and that I was very moved and influenced by simple stuff that was just kind of executed averagely or slightly above average. I do remember that I enjoyed Buckethead's performance on like at least 40% of the album, and the rest of it seemed like he was kind of stale and not allowed to do much. Ooh,
which do I like better, The Seer or To Be Kind? Man. To Be Kind is the better record, but The Seer has some stuff on there that fucked me up. Like, I straight up wrote some stuff because of The Seer. And so that was pretty cool. Both of them are really solid records. Highly recommend them to anybody who wants to check out Swans. Better is probably the song you're thinking about, buddy, because it did have an amazing solo in it. It was the single off of the disc. It was pretty good. Then the rest of the album was a boatload of bullshit. You like Chinese Democracy? Well, Mr. Red, I will say you're probably within a much larger minority than I'm kind of, painting it as. It's not really a universally hated album to the point of like a Saint Anger or a Lulu. I'm glad you like it. I'm very glad that you like it. I think that's pretty cool. What was your opinion on Use Your Illusion 1 and 2, Mr. Red? What's going on, Kyle? What's going on, buddy? Gotta keep things going on. How many people saw the tweet last night that I was turning heel? How many people were really, really legitimately confused by that? Because I don't know if I could legitimately turn heel. Worst album that I've ever heard. Oh boy. There's a couple of them. There is a couple of them. One of the biggest ones that I can remember, it was like there was Lulu. Lulu was trash. But Lulu, I kind of understood what they were going for. There is an album by a band called Switched that I mentioned in my like the 10 worst albums of 10 really bad metal albums or whatever video. That is an album that if I were to review it today, I believe that my statement would be something of the nature of I'm giving this album a 40 out of 100. I would give it just 1 out of 100, but I have to understand and respect the fact that this band that they play music, they're signed, and they got a record deal, which is 3 things that I don't do. I don't play music. I write lyrics. I'm fucking not signed, and I don't have a record deal. I didn't release a record, anything like that. So there it is. So, is Switched worse than Blood on the Dance Floor? No. They are not. If I had to make a choice, I would listen to Switched 4,000 years over Blood on the Dance Floor. But here's the thing. In order for me to claim that I've listened to a terrible album, I have to have listened to all of it. And I have not listened to a Blood on the Dance Floor album in its entirety. I've probably heard enough of their songs where I have, but I have not sat down and done it straight, and I don't think I ever will. Like, if I were to ever do a thing that I would never truly review, like, from the first track to the last track, I don't think I'd ever review a Blood on the Dance Floor album. That would be torture. And it wouldn't really be worth it. I might, it might get a number of views, but that's not what it's all about. It would just be a bunch of butthurt babies and, a bunch of people parroting the idea that Blood on the Dance Floor sucks. That would be it. Oh my. Second Nature actually does beat the first Flying Colors album. Probably by like a full 5 to 7 points. I just feel that Second Nature had a lot of evolution on it. It was terrific. And also, Cat AD mentioning Matt Sorum. They will be, Guns N' Roses that is, will be probably touring some of those dates with The Cult as openers. And The Cult are very, very good. They're kind of a band that, they got really big in the 1980s, and then their appreciation level dropped, and I don't know why, because they're just a really solid group. I think they're a very, very underappreciated band overall. I haven't heard the new 6 a.m. singles. I'm thinking that, I'll just listen to the record. Thank you. I am going to be talking about the Slice the Cake new album. And I need to talk about more than just Odyssey to the West, because there's two parts to that. There's two parts. There's something it's a prelude to Odyssey to the West. Odyssey to the Gallows. And that's actually what you want to listen to first. You want to listen to Odyssey to the Gallows and then Odyssey to the West. I know this because I went on their Facebook page and learned it. Aside from that, I know a grand total of nothing about the band. I will admit that outright. And so this is going to be my first experience, and yeah, that'd be pretty cool. I'm kind of excited about that. I probably won't do anything with the word alive. Not really my thing, and I don't want to kind of falsely represent things. And another big thing that I do need to really get off of my chest to the 22 of you that's watching is that I sadly can't get to everything. That's one of the big reasons why some things do end up going unreviewed or untouched, unmentioned. It's not because, somebody mentioned this band to me 17 times in a comment on 17 different videos. He must really hate me, that's why he didn't review it. No, I just didn't get to it. Now, people who badger me 17 times in a row on, say, Facebook or something like that, that's a real quick way to get me not to want to do something. That's a real quick way, because one of my biggest pet peeves is whenever an elitist fan or somebody who's really, really ridiculous about it, and they get super pissed whenever you say you're probably not going to do it. They get really offended. They think that you're slighting their favorite band, and you're slighting them in the process. And what happened? What happened? I mean, here we are in 2016, and we're getting really, really pissed off because somebody is. And I just was having this conversation last night. Where is it now, or where are we now, where you have artists that have 20 albums worth of material, and they still just want to, people just want to hear one or two songs, and the rest of the songs that they play at a concert will get little to no ovation, except from the 10 that are in the row of true fans that have every single record, have 27 t-shirts, and have met the band 5 times, the band is their life. Magnum is fucking great. Oh my gosh, I missed their last album. But Magnum is terrific. I reviewed one of their discs a couple years ago. They're a really talented group, and they've been around for a long time. They've been around for a long time, since the late 70s. They had a little good age in the 80s, and then they just they've lingered all this time. They remind me a lot of, oh geez, I was going to say Hanoi Rocks. That's so fucking wrong. Oh god damn it, Hawkwind. Hawkwind has been around forever, and they're still releasing music that's actually really good. It's worth listening to and seeking out. I don't talk a lot about that stuff because, first of all, the audience is 10 people, but most importantly because these are groups that sometimes need no introduction. Magnum kind of does. Magnum needed that introduction to a new generation, and plus, whenever I reviewed it, that was my first experience with the band. That was a complete and total random, wonder what this is. Sure, why not? Drop the money on the ground or on the table, on the ground. Pop it in the CD player. Wow, I have to tell people about this. Then I go and do the research and realize they've been around forever. So I learned as I was, constructing the review. The review completely and totally came based off of that rando purchase, which was really cool. Oh man, will I ever grow an epic beard? No, I will not. Way too itchy for me. It's just something. It pisses me off. I've tried, and I've gotten so fed up. I've even had the kind of long goatee, not for very long though. It wasn't very long, but it was to the point where my 5 o'clock shadow would be one length, and my goatee would be like a completely different length. And all I just do was just itch and itch and itch. And I was like, ah! So I finally cut it off. Everyone's gonna think I'm on fucking drugs because I am. Excuse me. Godflesh is okay. Not too bad. Along those same lines, Mr. Red, have you heard of Misery Loves Company? Pretty good band. Pretty good band. But yeah, I mean, there's not much to really talk about for this week. I don't know what else I'm really going to do from, say, Tuesday on into Thursday. I might have to use that time to catch up with some of the stuff that came out this weekend. And I did release that special edition of the Baby Metal review because I had a wonderful fan approach me and say that he wanted, and said that I'm not sure if it's a he or a she, I'm assuming it's a he, which is probably bad. Don't assume, makes an ass out of you, me, and the ass that you're insulting by saying that. They wanted to do a translation for it, and I was more than happy to accept, because I've never had that. I've never been approached with an idea like that. So, got to see the review first and everything like that. But I wanted to release both versions, one that didn't have the subtitles and one that did. That way, because there are a lot of people that are fans of the band that they viewed the video, but there was that barrier, there was that gap. So they weren't really able to interact at all. They really didn't. They could. The message was lost literally in translation a little bit. So, considering that is a band that is based over there, that's something I wanted to do. Considering somebody came forward and said that they wanted to do that on my behalf, which was lovely. Now, would I do that for every single review? Abso-fucking-lutely not. No. No way, Jose. If I were to be doing that, I would be releasing like 7 different versions of every review, and it would be absurd. It would be retarded. Anyway. Hey, again, have you heard of Spite? Sorry. No, I've not heard of him, brother. I thought that said Sprite at first. I was like, yeah, dude, I want a Sprite right now. That'd be badass. Someone send me a Sprite. Oh man, the top 10. Oh, the top 10 series. Oh shit, I do need to get back to that. You're talking 10 awesome songs, Steve? 10 awesome songs does need to make a return. Maybe I will work on that this week. I've wanted to make a return for that for a long time. And I had big plans for it at the end of last year, and then the end of last year happened with all of the... I got the idea for 12 days of heavy metal, and a lot of other stuff went down. I was doing the lists and everything, and I was like, shit, when do I have time to do this? And, you know, I'm trying to stay up till like 4 or 5 in the morning, you know, trying to cruise around to find the stuff, and it just didn't happen, man. It just didn't happen. So, I mean, it is what it is. So it's going to be like the most random series by the time it's all said and done, or like by the time we make it to 1,000 songs. You know, like in episode 100, which we're on like episode 10. But I do want to continue the series. I thought it was a pretty neat little thing. I also love it whenever I can think of a theme that I can stick with. But I kind of like... I'm like really torn because I like that idea of having them themed, but I also love the concept of having like 10 different ideas that's sort of like one for everybody. But I realize that that's just one. If you already know it, then it's like, well, what the fuck was that, you know? What did I learn here? Jack and shit. But, you know, it'd be super neat to see, like, all of them run together. Oh my gosh, my friend's being high class. High class lady. So one of my friends came in for a couple of days this past week, and we basically did nothing but chill out, talk, and drink. It was fun. The first night we drank in a bar, but probably more fun was Thursday whenever we just drank outside of my house, outside of the apartment here. And we didn't drink on the porch because that would be too freaking simple. We drank, there's a car lot that's like right across from my place, and I live on an alley, so it's like, it's nothing, and it's an overflow lot, no one's ever there. And they have these big blocks, like these concrete blocks. So we just parked our asses over there and just killed 5/6 of a 6-pack. It was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun. She had a lot of fun. Good times were had. And then we went to Eaton Park at 2 in the afternoon and had breakfast because we are lovely, lovely people that I'm sure all servers out there respect the hell out of. But now she's back in Ohio drinking gin and juice, or gin and tonic without me. What a freaking bitch. I love her. She's great. Passing Void, you are like, maybe I'm just crazy, but you are like obsessed with Metallica. Load and Reload would have been better off as one album with like half of one and half of the other put together. But Saint Anger, I understand that it was like there was a lot going on and blah 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 and all that. Saint Anger has aged a lot better than people think. That's the one thing. Whenever it first came out, that album was the worst. It was so bad. But it has aged really, really well, surprisingly. Garrett, I am still doing the What If series. I just did one this past week, which was a fan. It was a fan requested one because the What If series won the official Cover Killer Legion poll, which is over on Facebook, on what series was going to get an update this week. What If series got it, and the one that I saw that had the most interest was what if the Rev had not passed away and if Mike Portnoy hadn't left Dream Theater. And we learned a lot, actually. I learned a lot. I learned that regardless, the whole Mike Portnoy leaving Dream Theater thing would have probably just been delayed a year, because that was going to happen kind of regardless. And I don't think, a lot of people think that his time with A7X really influenced his decision. I call bullshit on that. I call super bullshit on that. Because he even cited right whenever he was announcing that he was splitting that it was such a full-time job. Yeah, and it sounds like such a garbage response for all of us that have full-time jobs, but over 25 years, it was basically his baby, and he had already kind of destroyed himself a little bit based off of that because he was an alcoholic for a long time. Any Dream Theater fan is familiar, probably, at least in theory, in the basic idea of the 12-step suite that Mike Portnoy penned along with the group. And a lot of that stuff is based off of actual things that happens to Mike Portnoy, or actual emotions and feelings, and he went through the 12-step program, and yeah. What if Halford and Dickinson never left their bands? Ew. I am not too sure about that feeling right there. See you later, Marco. Blaze Bayley gets shit on for a lot. And I kind of disagree with that. X Factor's an amazing album. We don't get the X Factor if Dickinson doesn't leave. Just gonna throw that out there. We don't get that dark, brooding Iron Maiden album that never has happened ever since. And those songs sung by Bruce Dickinson probably sound really weird. I mean, I'm talking really, really weird. Like, he can do Man on the Edge like a motherfucker, and it makes sense. And it makes sense, But you get into songs like 3 a.m. Like you get into the middle portion of that album where it is just super duper dark, and it doesn't work nearly as well. As far as Halford is concerned, Ripper does kind of get a bad rap, but to his credit, the material that was being crafted wasn't all that good either. Jugular was a pretty good album. It was just the fact that the material itself was just sort of like B-grade Judas Priest. And that's really the only problem that there really is there. His performances are good. Like, Ripper's performances are very, very good. Oh my gosh, yes, the Angel and the Gambler should have been like half the fucking size that it was. That line did not need to be repeated 26 times. I think it's repeated once for every letter of the fucking alphabet.
That was absurd and completely unnecessary. That is the one place where they certainly went very, very wrong. And Virtual 11 by Iron Maiden is a disc that I consider to be halfway amazing and halfway awful. And if you take a look at the track listing for it, I can't even really do that. Son of a bitch. That's on my hard drive, and my hard drive is being a little piece of garbage. I might be able to do something. Well, whatever. But if you take a look at the actual track listing for Virtual 11, we'll just take a look on here. Future Real I consider to be a fairly good opener. Like, whenever I heard that opener, I wondered why people thought this was a shitty album. Quite frankly. Because I thought that was really solid, pretty well done. It was weird to hear an Iron Maiden song that was 3 minutes. It happened before, obviously, but, you know, after listening to the X Factor, it just seemed kind of strange. The Angel and the Gambler had the potential. It would have been the song that honestly really set this album apart. It would have made it, you know, instead of it being 4-4, it would be like 5-3. Lightning Strikes Twice is honestly just really average. It's an average song that is kind of made below average by that whole "maybe lightning strikes twice" being, again, repeated way too much. And weirdly enough, that's a Dave Murray song. That's a Dave Murray song. It's actually one of 2 songs where he gets writing credits, and I actually don't like either of them. He also penned part of When Two Worlds Collide, which I don't think is all that good. The Klansman is amazing. The Educated Fool is bona fide the song of the fucking album. It's incredible. I think that song is one of the best of 90s era Maiden. Don't Look to the Eyes of the Stranger is... And then Como Esta Amigo is probably one of the best closers that I've heard on an Iron Maiden album. Definitely in the 90s. But like, you went on Brave New World, the thin line between love and hate wasn't all that good. Dance of Death was eh. It's really until you got into the Journeyman where you have amazing, like a final song that really couples with the amazing. So, and in fact, the listed writers for this song is Janet Garrison and Blaze. Blaze gets writing credits for only 3 songs on this disc: Future Real, When Two Worlds Collide, and Como Esta Amigo. So, you know, what does that really say? You know, you go over to the X Factor, and you take a look at how much that he really kind of did. You know, Sign of the Cross was all Steve Harris. That was a Harris baby, and you could tell by its construction. And he even really did something very different with that song that's very appreciated. Man on the Edge had Bailey credits. Look for the Truth, and another terrific song. The Aftermath, another terrific song. The Edge of Darkness, 2 a.m., not 3 a.m. I fucked that up. Those are all Bailey credited songs. Blood on the World's Hands, Judgment of Heaven, and Fortunes of War. Another one of my favorite songs off that disc. It's a Steve Harris baby, of course. Whoops. That's the wrong thing. So there you go. I mean, The Educated Fool, I think, actually tops Klansman and Future Real. Man, I know that I'm not a big fan of singing along with tracks, and it is kind of what Blaze does on that song. He's singing along to that rhythm. But if you listen to that rhythm, if you listen to the way that song is constructed, I don't see how that happens any other way. I really don't. I don't see any other way to sing on that track. And it just worked out so well. Yeah. The Yano solo stuff is alright. I've never been largely impressed. I thought he was a pretty decent singer for Maiden, that if he would have kept his life together, he could have actually taken that band, not so much to the stratosphere, but they would have at least been a comparable, band. Really, you need Bruce Dickinson for Iron Maiden to be who they are. That's what I'll say. Di'Anno with the band would have given them a really solid career, but not legendary. Not legendary. This is probably all moldy and stuff. Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's all fuzzy. Hard Rock Avenged Sevenfold or Metalcore Avenged Sevenfold? Here's the thing. As of right now, I prefer Metalcore Avenged Sevenfold only because the Hard Rock Avenged Sevenfold has not done enough to showcase that they are that they're individual enough. They're not individual enough from the crowd. Hail to the King really exposed that a lot, especially the first half of it. Now, the latter half of Hail to the King is a completely different story, especially whenever you get into songs such as Planets, which, I'm sorry, I don't give a shit what people say. They can claim that M. Shadows and Zacky Vengeance sucked one another off and got that song. But that had a lot of influence from their time with Mike Portnoy. That and Acid Rain as well. But both those tracks are retardedly good. And if they did an album based off of what they did with those two songs, there's a good chance that it pulls a Baby Metal and ends up on the Album of the Year list. Subtle things like this is all it really takes for a band to go from being kind of mediocre, or at least average, competent, average and okay, to excellent. It's just that little extra effort. And Hail to the King was an album that didn't feel like it had a lot of extra effort placed within it. As far as games as I got, what I would probably be trying out would be SNES stuff. Because I lowered the bitrate to the stream, because I was having all sorts of issues with that before. But I actually don't think that I'm going to try that tonight. In fact, I think here in a little bit I'm going to take a little break for about 5-10 minutes. Probably closer to 5. So I'm noticing what time it is, and I need to take some medicine. But I do want to try games in the future. What I might actually do is maybe just do like more of a private stream, and whoever pops in, that's whatever. And then just try it there and actually sort of see the reaction of the chat and see what their complaints are, and what's good, what's bad, blah blah blah, stuff of that variety. Because my setup honestly is not it's not games friendly as far as streaming is concerned. I don't that external mic that I use is not very good considering it cuts in and out. This is the whole reason why there is the equipment goal over on Patreon, unless I change that, which I may have. Patreon page has gotten a little bit of a comb over.
And speaking of that, we are still working toward that $250 goal for 24 hours of CKN in April, though things may change a little bit for that. Not so much because everything is going poorly as far as that is concerned. I mentioned this in the stream last week, and I'm kind of tossing back and forth the idea. Like, how that really should have been handled is that instead of having the goal be the 24 hours of CKN, it should have just been, I planned the 24 hours of CKN and did it, and have the Patreon, donation to the Patreon stuff be really, at the center stage there. I'm doing this marathon, if you want to pop a little bit to see me do this or that or something like that, and maybe have some goals in mind. Maybe $25 for me to rip apart this band, and have maybe a chat poll or something like that. That's probably how I should have handled that, but considering I've already, sort of gone all in with this, that is where we are right now. Not even halfway. So, missed opportunity, I feel. Missed opportunity. Hoping to do something special for my birthday this year. My birthday is in the middle of June. Maybe do something special for the stream, either that or for the channel. Maybe have a little something associated with that. Also, like in a couple with the Patreon. I don't know. Whenever I made that 5 Reasons People Hate CKN video, mentioning that Patreon page felt really, really dirty. It felt kind of dirty because I know that it's in the videos, like in the descriptions and stuff like that, and at the end. But if I wasn't running this whole little, thing here, I'd probably barely talk about it. I don't know. Well, anyway, I'm going to take a couple minutes. That way I can, like I said, I need to take some medication. And I think I'm going to grab a quick smoke. Get rid of this trash bag over here. But whenever I come back, I'm going to do nothing but answer questions. I'm done talking about everything else. I'm going to just say one final time that if you want to give to the Patreon page, it is right there on the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. Most important thing I want to remind everything of is that this is not, and this is where I think some people get a little bit kind of about it. A lot of YouTubers have everything be per video. I don't do that. It would be per month. So it wouldn't be $1 per video where you're, at the end of the month you're paying $40 because I do probably about 30 to 35 to 40 videos a month. It's just the one. So everything is per month, not per video. And there's a guy that's always been in the videos saying even if you just give one, half of it did one, and it's $20,000 a month. Good, really good math. I appreciate that, but I don't have that kind of lofty expectation. If you enjoy the fact that, if you learn something from this, or if you become a bigger fan of metal or whatever, then it would be appreciated, but it isn't required. The only reason why I talk about it, like I said, so much right now is because we've got the goal going on. It is there. It's a little bit of a better means than YouTube itself. I know YouTube has fan funding. We're on YouTube right now. It's got fan funding available too. Somebody actually used it this past month. I'd just much rather you guys donate to the Patreon. I think it's a lot better than YouTube's. YouTube's is just really kind of wonky. I'm not a big fan of it. I'm not a big fan. It's just me. I'm going to take a break. I'll be right back. This freaking garbage bag too. What the fuck?
Oh, lordy, folks. Ouch.
Okay, I'm good. I got everything I needed. I should be good to go for a little while. And, oh man, are they going to come in? That's the question right now. Mittens and Pippin are hovering right there on the outside of the door. And they're like kind of questioning whether or not they should come in or not. Pippin's thinking, nah. He's found this perch. I put like a little stand over by the back door so he can look out the window, and he does not leave there very often. Like, he used to come in late at night and hang out with me, but he hasn't done that for a while, ever since I put that perch over there. He just really, really loves looking out that window. And if I go outside there onto my back porch, he'll like start meowing and stuff, like he's saying, hey, you down in front, you're ruining my view. Oh, we're talking death in the chat. Oh, man. What a career those folks had. I'm telling you what. A lot of people want me to do What If Chuck Never Died, and it's one that I will tackle. I do want to tackle that because I'm going to change history a little bit with that one. Principally because I want it to be a what if where he doesn't get a cancer diagnosis. That way he has the opportunity to have a full career. I want this one to be one, I want it to be a what if where I actually somehow get him up to the present. Because The Sound of Perseverance came out, oh Lord, 2001 or 2000. Like right at the turn of the millennium, and then of course there was the Control Denied album, and I still believe that he was going to do a couple of albums with Control Denied. That was his new baby, but I think that Death eventually gets back together. He eventually resurrects that project. Either that or Control Denied just sort of becomes the new Death, you know, where his songwriting lies. Because I think Chuck had so much more that he wanted to tell the world. I think Chuck was one of those guys that honestly did not get to really deliver his full manifesto, even within the work that the band put in and the music that they were able to put out. And one of the bigger reasons why I think that occurred was because of how much of a revolving door that band sadly was. It was a bit of a revolving door, but at the same time, based off of that, it became like this tree. It became the tree that had all sorts of limbs that led to other bands. So Death is a great band that if you want to get into heavy metal, especially death metal, you can use them as a real propeller point to get into them as the main band. And then discover a lot of other groups in the process. 1998, thank you, Kyle. I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot. Yeah, they had already had a bit of a progressive influence prior to Symbolic and Sound of Perseverance. You heard that a little bit really around the same time that you heard groups come out such as Atheist and Cynic and the like. You could definitely tell it's sort of where the sound was morphing. Death was one of the groups. Not only were they a godfather of the genre, but they were also one of the groups that was trying to build death metal into something more than just what it started off as. And that's where they gained so much respect and where they become sort of like this untouchable entity in the eyes of a lot of people is because they did not just turn the same trick over and over again. Every album feels a little bit different. And every album it felt like Chuck was really trying to push the boundaries a little bit further until you got to Sound of Perseverance where it was bona fide progressive death metal. You know, before the term was even coined. Honestly, a lot of bands that are in the progressive death metal scene do owe a tremendous debt to Chuck and to Death because of the success that subgenre of metal has really started to enjoy, where it is something that a lot of bands are kind of aiming just to throw in there just to not so much stand out, but to give themselves a little bit of something more. You know, there's still plenty of pure death metal groups out there. You know, that is something that is not in short supply. But I think that there is definitely an era right now where if you have a little bit more to bring to the table than just a standard death metal, then you're in a better position to sort of get noticed. I think you're in a bit of a better position. Hey, thank you very much, Oscar. What's going on, bud? Glad to see you. As you continue to listen to Death Brother, you're going to find that they have a lot to offer. They really do. They're a fantastic band. Spirit Crusher's a good song to like. It's a good song to like. It's a great starter. That intro riff is ridiculous. It is so ridiculously good. Ah, yeah. Yari. Or is that Yan? Man, I can't read for dick today. Yan, you are absolutely right about that attitude. And that is kind of why he was able to be that sort of forefather that always wanted to push that boundary a little bit. You know, he did that because he wanted to test himself. And wanted to test the limits of the band. And create something a little bit different. So, you're right about that being the perfect attitude. Because it is. And it was. And it led to great things. It led to terrific things. Like, honestly, as far as the pantheon of death metal bands is concerned, I'd probably put Death at the top. And it's become, these days, a little bit of a commonplace thing. But I'm also old school. You know, that's been a feeling that I've kind of had in the back of my skull for a long period of time. Where, like, the only band that was part of that original troupe that really sounded completely different and super original was Obituary. But even their sound kind of teetered on monotonous at times. That was the one big criticism that I'd have about Obituary, is that their sound does teeter a little bit on monotonous at times. Death never felt monotonous. They never felt like they were doing the same thing constantly. And that's one of their hugest benefits. I was a really, really big Obituary fan, though. Man. Whenever I got World Demise, the End Complete, and then I got their anthology album, oh, man. I was a much younger man whenever that happened, and I spun those records for days. It was absurd. Alright, Josh. Take care. We'll probably be going on for a little bit longer. Maybe another half an hour or so. I didn't get a chance to review that Gruesome album, and man, am I kicking my own ass for that, because it's a very, very good disc. It's a very solid disc. A lot of fun to listen to. Really does remind you of that band. It reminds you of Death a lot. But it's honestly another reason why I kind of like that Entrails album a lot from last year. And I actually chat up one of the blokes from that band every so often, and did so for a long time without even realizing it. I just like their method, because it isn't like, you know, it's not a copy of Death at all. Got a little bit more thrash influence in there, really, at least in my opinion. But yeah, their last year's album from Entrails was just absurd. It was very, very good. And that's why it ended up as high on the top 50 list as it did. It is not a sleeper. It's one that you should seek out and respect. It has an album review that is actually also fairly not respected, but whatever. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and push you toward every single thing that I've ever done, because that's just... Someone said I have a big ego, and it's probably because I'm an only child, but no. No, I'm pretty... You kind of have to have an ego doing what I do. You know, as an album reviewer, you do have to kind of have a bit of an ego. I think they're meaning that, like, I'm pushing myself as a brand, which they say is what you're supposed to do with YouTube, but I really don't see it. I don't see myself as a brand at all. I do enjoy horror films. Horror films are pretty sweet. Voice of the Soul is tremendous. Kyle, to kind of just do two at once right there. And Death Clock is... They're pretty cool. I mean, they're alright. I enjoy listening to their stuff every so often, but it kind of loses its allure. I loved watching the show, though. The show was tremendous. It was a lot of fun. I like having tons of fun with stuff whenever it comes to shows. That's why I really enjoy Rick and Morty. Though Rick and Morty has gotten super duper sad at times, and it sort of makes you think. And I'm really, really pissed off about the season 2 finale because I have to wait to see what happens. Like, they did that cliffhanger angle that a lot of shows do, but they did it right. Like, the season finale of the second season of Rick and Morty literally felt like an incomplete episode. Would I fuck a goat for 1 million subs? No, not for 1 million. 10 million? I'd have to think about it. And they'd all have to be like subs that are really, really into the stuff too, you know, like I wouldn't do it just so I could have 10 million subs by my name and stuff like that. Like my video, like the view count and everything, like it would have to transform me into like a legit YouTube celebrity, which I'm not even sure is something that I really want. You don't hear as much about Knockmistium, Oscar, because Blake Judd's a fucking dick. He really is. He's a fucking prick. Which is a shame, because I love Knockmistium. They're a great band. The Black Metal series was ridiculously good.
But Blake Judd is a dick. Yes, there is a price. Absolutely, Burning Beard. Everybody has a price. So, who's excited for WrestleMania? Vader's a good band too. But it's time. It's time. It's Vader time. I should have made that joke the last time I did one of their reviews. Maybe I did. I don't even know. I can't recall anymore. I tried this afternoon to record a video for CKN versus the World for WrestleMania, and I think I've reached the point where I'm just probably going to close that account. Because I can't even get into that. Like, I should just, if I keep that account, I should just change its name and just filter all sorts of silly shit there. Because it's going nowhere, it's going to go nowhere, I kind of have come to that realization. So I should just do that and say to hell with it, you know what I'm saying? You know, I think I really need to understand that, I'm not like a lot of these other folks that can do like a second or third account. And first of all, keep up with it, because let me tell you, these folks that are able to keep up like 2 or 3 accounts, they have to have people that are helping them, because shit, being a one-man squad it's rough. It really is. Or you really have to have it down where whenever you record, you don't have to do dick to your levels, like you don't have to adjust a damn thing. Like Bogey, for example. Oh man, I love watching some Bogey videos. Or Boogie, however he calls it, man. I love watching his stuff. But I don't even know if he has to do a stinking thing to his videos. Like, I think he just shoots the footage, splices it together where it seems coherent. And that's all. Like, and he just posts it. Like, he doesn't have to render it or nothing. I don't know how the fuck he does it, man. I would love to chat that guy up one-on-one one of these days. I'd love to have him on, not really my music journey. I just like to interview him. Like if I ever did a podcast, shit, I'd love to have him on. I think that'd be a lot of fun. It's funny that whenever you do something for so long, like review music, that whenever you try to do other things, you just kind of get bothered by it a little bit. Like if I do a CKN versus video, I get super duper bothered because I want it to seem different than the regular videos, and it just doesn't feel different enough. It doesn't. And I don't even know
what different would be like acceptable to my brain. Shane McMahon is fighting The Undertaker at... Shane is fighting The Undertaker at WrestleMania because John Cena is out, actually. Like, that's one of the big reasons why that is. The original plot was actually to have John Cena and The Undertaker in the matchup because it was supposed to be The Undertaker's final match. Because he was going to hang it up after this WrestleMania, and he probably still will. They put stipulations on here on this matchup where it suggests that he won't. But I'm going to predict, and I'm willing to bet, that at the end of the night, he will probably be walking away. But the really weird part about it is that in order for that to happen, and the way in which I think he would want to go out, is that Shane McMahon would have to beat him clean. Hey, Mittens. How you doing, buddy? And that kind of bothers me because I don't think anybody really truly wants to see that, especially in a Hell in a Cell. I think that in reality they would have loved to see like an upstart get that pin. Or I think they were willing, and I think even Taker was willing to have Cena get that pin. Because they could have built a good story around it. It actually could have led to a true Cena heel turn. It could have. I do listen to a little bit more of the stoner and sort of like just chill out shit ever since I've aged. Because it has like some of those links to rock music. Wow, look at this. This is a in-depth question. I'm going to address Burning Beards first. Has my taste in music changed? A little bit. Like, what I listen to on my own time has definitely changed. Mainly because my own time is not time that is dedicated to being a heavy metal album reviewer, so that's whenever I will, like, secretly jam out to all my guilty pleasures, and I kind of just do it to relax a little bit. I love heavy metal, and I love talking about heavy metal. I've known about this genre for so damn long that will always be a part of me. It will always be something I want to talk about. But some days you just want to relax and listen to something else. It's why I every so often will review something else, something different. You know, it's why I'm kicking myself for not reviewing the Joe Bonamassa album. It's why I wanted to talk about that Kendrick Lamar disc, the Untitled Unmastered. Life of Pablo by Kanye. I actually talked about that principally because it was being hyped as the best album ever and all this trash, and I wanted to see if it really was or not. You know, I could sit here and do one day and dedicate it to, like, I could dedicate each day to different types of music. But man, that would, first of all, that'd be a retarded amount of upkeep, first of all, and second of all, nobody would be satisfied. There is a little bit of satisfaction that is necessary in order for me to keep this going. Since I am a one-man team, that's probably the critical phrase in there. Since I am a one-man show, one-man team, you know, the shooting, the editing, the quote-unquote writing, which is in reality just, you know, basic notations in my mind, the performance, anything that has to do with promotion outside of YouTube is done by me and you guys. Like, this is purely organic. I'm not going to other web pages and, like, spamming the shit out of my junk because I don't believe in that. You know, if you have a good enough product, if you have a good enough thing, it's something where the word of mouth should actually solve the problem for you. So, there's a lot that really kind of goes into it, and it's the reason why I worry a lot about burnout, and it's the reason why it nearly happened for good last October, because originally the hiatus was not meant to be a hiatus. Originally, the hiatus may have been me walking away. But I wanted to get back to Garrett's question, because it's an interesting one, though it's not one I'm not too sure if I could actually answer it. He asks, if you had full creative control over one album of your choice, can be good or bad or any genre of choice, but rock or metal would make the most sense for you, what would you be, or what would it be, and what would you fix? I think the problem with that question that I have is the fact that I've written lyrics for a long time. So I'm very deep into that side. So if I had full control over an album, I wouldn't want it to be someone else's release. I would want it more to be something of my own, where somehow I'm able to transmit my vision, I guess, to a band in a coherent way, where they would understand kind of what I was going for and actually be able to make it work, and then somehow, some way, wake up one day with actual talent and be able to sing it and have it actually sound, halfway coherent. So that would be actually the answer to that question. I don't think I would change much about what other folks have done. Maybe I'd go to Lulu simply because I would want that album to have a little bit more of a coherency to it. I think I would try to find a way with that disc to actually bring the balance to a better level. I think that album suffered a lot from the fact that it was an art album. That's an art album right there that did something that was very, very simple. It tried to illuminate it would try to properly illuminate who was supposed to be illuminated, whether it be Lou Reed or Metallica, and at times got it completely backwards. So I'd say that that's really, really something that needed addressed. Because if your focus is really on the story of an album, then Lou Reed should be your forefront, and the music swirl around it. If you've ever listened to any person that reads poetry in front of music, any type of poetry that is recited to music, that is an exhibition usually of tremendous balance, because your music is it's your oral backdrop, and then your story is given to you by the poetry, it's given to you by the lyricism. And I know that it sounds really cut and dry, and an art album is supposed to push those boundaries, but there are some conventions that work for a reason. Whenever your story is muddled down by the music, unless that has a really, really detailed point, where it's supposed to seem like your character, or whatever the scene is lost in the shuffle, or is lost. A great example that I could give, just off the top of my skull, is if you did an album that's based off of a character that is from the country or from a rural area, and they go to the big city with ambition and dream, and then they end up in a situation that could be your center point of a plot, whether it be perhaps this character is encountered in an alleyway and they have a gun pulled on them. And all of a sudden, whenever you're in that situation, time sort of stands still, or everything seems to blend together, or they get shot, and all the noise blends together. Unless it's something that really paints an accurate portrait where the storyline is not really necessary, where the storyline that's right there is just bubbled fill. It's almost describing what's going on and swirling around the character that's in turmoil, in pain, or is lost in a moment. Maybe an acid trip, they're in an altered state. Then your story should not be tempered. It should not be in the background to your music. Streaming while at work. Oh, tisk tisk, Blake. Actually, I hope that your boss becomes like a CKN fan if he comes over and sees what you're doing and you get a promotion. See you later, Kyle. I have thought about putting my lyrics into a book. I've also thought about selling them individually. And I even had this conversation last night. If I decided to do that, I would not immediately try to write more. I would not immediately try to write more. Because you can't force that kind of stuff. You cannot force that kind of stuff. Voyage 34 is ridiculously good. That's a prime example of what I was just talking about. That album's a prime example of what I was just talking about. They could have had voices in the background throughout the entirety of Voyage 34, and it would have made perfect sense considering what was going on. Like, that was honestly... Excuse me. That was honestly a way in which that could be done perfectly well. Stream's going alright. Not too bad. Probably going to be here till about 9 o'clock, and then I'm going to take off because I have a stream that I need to get to, actually. I have a, not really a prior commitment, but for the past couple of nights I have been chatting up with a couple of other blokes about some different things. So I always like to head in over there and do some stuff with them, and I'm not on any sort of material or anything like that with that whole stream. That's their ball game, but the guy actually lives pretty darn close by, so we always like to beat a little bit back and forth. God damn it! One of my favorite concept albums is always going to be Scenes from a Memory. The Dream Theater disc. I think that was really their concept album done truly right. The Astonishing had a lot of great ideas, a lot of great thoughts, but man, it was a little overambitious. And Scenes from a Memory is a disc that you can just pick up and enjoy the first time you listen to it. The Astonishing is a grower. And do I still hate Bonnie the cat? No. Bonnie and I have made up. That's all good. And please, I know one of you were speaking about your tastes changing, and you liked a little bit more of the way of stoner rock and stoner metal. Please tell me you know who Elder is, because Elder is phenomenal. What a good band. The next time they have a release come out, I'm reviewing that sucker, considering I missed Lore and God. Another moment where I feel like balls that I didn't get a chance to pimp that band out to the world, so now I try to do it as much as humanly possible. Like, it's kind of sad how much I try to pimp this band. I think I did that in the 10 Awesome Songs. I did it during the 12 days of CKN. Operation Mindcrime's pretty good. One part about Mindcrime that really gives it a lot of its respect is the fact that it's a story where you're not 100% sure of the ending. Like, you could actually make some theories about Operation Mindcrime, and you probably wouldn't be wrong. There's a bit of an ambiguity to the end of that story, which is very nice. Filter's new material is kind of just okay. Like, I'm not hugely into their new stuff, but I do have a lot of respect for Filter. They released a couple of really big albums in the 90s that I loved. Title of Record is still one of these, like, wonderful, wonderful albums that will always get a spin in this household at least once a year. Witchcraft is really good. Their last album, though, was not all that strong. Nucleus was kind of a weak disc. I was really disappointed because I've heard I didn't think that I had heard anything from them beforehand, but I kind of went back into my archives and realized that I had. And I sort of revisited the stuff. It's probably been years. and I really liked it. And I compared it to Nucleus. I was like, we were talking about the Angel and the Gambler. If you want to know where they kind of went a little bit wrong with Nucleus, was that there were a couple moments where they kind of Angel and the Gamblered some of their riffs, which is really nice in stoner metal and stoner rock usually, but those went a little too far. Patrick, what's going on? What up? The sequel to Mindcrime was really disappointing. Really, really disappointing. And you're right about something. Chapita Man. Chapita Man? Really? Did I say that right? I hope I said that right, because if I did, that name is incredible. It is not my favorite Queensryche album either. Empire is better, in my opinion. I love Empire. Such a good album. Such an amazing disc. Do I have any opinions about Rammstein? I do. They got shat on really hard after Columbine. Just to throw that out there. But they just kept going. Didn't give a fuck. And just built support. They, Marilyn Manson. Ooh. There was a third band that was right in that lump. Got shat on hardcore after Columbine. And ended up having really good careers. Partially based around that. But also had to endure all sorts of shit. Marilyn Manson especially. He had to endure all sorts of shit. All sorts of shit! But, yeah, Rammstein's pretty good. Whenever they come back, I think we're going to see a very reinvigorated band. Because Lindman, he did some very good work with Peter from Hypocrisy last year with the Lindman solo disc. And I love the fact that that album just didn't take itself seriously whatsoever. Fierce respect for that. Fierce respect for that. Tuber. Okay. That sounds pretty good. That sounds awesome. I do like the Mars Volta, but I'm confused. Ivan, Yvonne, I'm very confused. I thought At the Drive-In was supposed to come back, and then I think they did for some shows, but there's no new material, and then now I'm hearing that the Mars Volta might be coming back, maybe for a few shows. What the fuck is going on? Could someone please get me Omar's phone number so I can call him up and be like, "Hello, Omar, you don't know me. My name is Cover Killer Nation. I am a fan of both At the Drive-In and the Mars Volta, but have a serious question of what the fuck?" Frequency Unknown, oh Christ. That album hurts me in some ways. Maybe that's the album I should take over and just, my plot would be make it good. But that might be hard. That might be way too much work. Spiderman. Spiderman. Cool. Like the name. Apologies that I butchered it. I heard the same thing about Rammstein, RJ, so I'm hoping that that's true. There was a band I just listened to recently. I posted it on my personal Facebook page, which, by the way, don't request my personal Facebook page. Just don't. I'm not adding anybody else. Not that I don't like you guys. Just, yeah. It was something that got a little out of control. Red Sun Rising was the name of the band. They're more of a radio band. They remind me of a mix of Alice in Chains and Shinedown. Pretty good stuff. There's a buddy of mine that was on my personal Facebook page and just posted the link, and I decided to try it out because I thought for sure that this guy, being the douche that he is, was going to point me to some like boring garbage, but then it ended up being good. So I was like, oh, wow, huh. Well, how do you do? It's a bit of a headache also because I have like over 1,000 friends on my personal Facebook page, and I know probably about 100 of them.
maybe 150, 200 if I'm really pushing it. Like, there's a couple people that it's been a lot of fun, like, interacting with and sort of getting to know through that, but one of the biggest helps that I was able to get from having some of those folks was knowing whenever some, like, big-time bullshit was going down, so it's helped with the What If, or not What If, but the CKN React series a little bit. So that's been about it. I do like the Winery Dogs. I would have had a review for the last album, but some asshole decided whenever I posted the review that he was going to spam his comment 11 or 12 times, and I just deleted the review. I just deleted it. I was so pissed off whenever that happened. That was right around the time whenever the hiatus happened. Like, that was, I think, the second to last video before the hiatus that it ended up getting taken down. And at that point in time, I really think that I was contemplating just walking away. Because at that point in time, life was just... 2015 was, behind the scenes, a really awful year for me. CKN, on the other hand, it was not. CKN, it was actually a pretty good year. But as far as behind the scenes was concerned, was a horrible, horrible year. And 2016 has honestly been a bit better, but it's one of those things where every single time you hit a bit of a peak, you get slapped back down. That's sort of just what life is, you know what I mean? That's just sort of how life goes. So I really don't consider 2016 to be a total, bullshit year yet. But we're starting to get close with some of the stuff that's happened recently. We're starting to get a little close to perhaps it being another repeat bullshit year. I would say the past 14 months of my life have been pretty hellish. A lot of anxiety, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of hopes, lots of hopes broken, a lot of things that I hoped would go one way but didn't. Very, very humbling experience. This has been an extremely humbling 14 months that I am more than ready to leave behind me. If life would just allow me to, quite frankly. Alice in Chains is an awesome band. I don't know why people give Willem, fuck. I was just called... Oh my gosh. Oh, this is how I can tell that it has been a ridiculous day. Wow. I almost just called William Duvall Willem Dafoe. Willem Dafoe is an actor, CKN. William Duvall is the singer of Alice in Chains. They give him a lot of shit. They really shouldn't. He's very, very good. Extremely talented. They're writing very good music together. So, if you don't like the new AIC because of Duvall and Duvall alone, that's the only reason why, because it's not Lane. Shut the fuck up. I'm probably one of the biggest Alice in Chains fans, definitely in this area of the country, certainly within my town. If anyone claims differently, they're fucking liars. I will be on my high horse about that, and will not care. However, and obviously my middle name is not actually Lane, but I like to think that it is. There was a television show that I wanted to make, and my main character's name would have been Lane. Lane fucking everywhere. But I respect William Duvall. I respect him a lot, and he does great work. Oh man, Crimson Glory was a group that had a lot of potential that sadly was never realized. They're a really good really good band. Ah.
Oh man. I have heard of Callanish Circle. I feel like I mentioned them in some way. No, I mentioned In Forsaken. They were around at right around the same time. In Forsaken is excellent. No longer with us, but excellent. The Forever Endeavor is it's this forgotten gem that nobody knows about that shouldn't be true. It's really, really good. I haven't watched the newer Texas Chainsaw Massacres. I watched like the very first remake that they did. I actually went to the theaters to see that, and it was really good. I liked that a lot, but then whenever they got to the beginning, to 3D, to this, to that, I was just like, ugh, no, stop it. Quit it. God, shut the fuck up. I recently saw somebody say that Friday the 13th was super boring, and I was like, finally, somebody echoes my sentiment. Love me some Michael Myers, but man, are those movies boring. I fucked that up again, didn't I? Yeah, I did. Yes, I did. Michael Myers is Halloween. Jason Voorhees. Jesus Christ. See? So boring, can't even remember the fucker's name. I need to close the door. I'll tell you the series that I really enjoyed that I wished got a little bit more respect, but then also I wished had a better real cycle of films. That's Hellraiser. The first two Hellraiser discs were so good. And then I think Wes Craven, was it Wes Craven? Anyhow, it was handled by other people. And was tainted by other people. It was fucked by other people. Oh man, we're talking about the new Ghostbusters reboot. Let's talk about that for just a second. Oh my god. I didn't listen to that Cauldron album as of yet. Just throw that out there. Clive Barker, thank you. Jeez. So much to remember in a relatively small head that traditionally only stores in bullshit and random sports facts. This Ghostbusters reboot, people are making a big deal over the fact that it's all for ladies, blah blah blah. This is such a tone for life in 2016, where everything has to have a female counterpart and equality and blah 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 blah. See, there we go. We even have it right there. CorrosionTheBigBoss.com was able to accurately showcase it. I'm going to dispel some knowledge here that should be fairly obvious, but I understand that sometimes this is not the case. Now, see, there's a movie that was released in the early 1980s that is considered by many to be one of the best of all time. It's considered to be a huge success, even though whenever it was first released, it really wasn't one that really moved a lot of mountains, but it has since become sort of embroidered within our culture, and its legend has just grown and grown and grown. That film starred a man who was doing some fantastic films and was in a little-known picture called The Godfather 2. His name is Al Pacino, and the film, of course, is Scarface. What a lot of people fail to understand is that Scarface is a remake. Is it an absolutely pure remake of the original that was in the 1920s? I believe, or early 30s? No, absolutely not. Because if somebody in the 1920s would have yelled some of the things that Tony Montana did, it would have been considered morbidly obscene. But instead they were able to grab hold of a star that seemed to fit the part. They were able to build a compelling story that would be a little bit more reserved, or not reserved, but a little bit more fit for the audience. They set it in the modern day at that time instead of trying to maintain the setting as the 1920s or 1930s, whatever it may have been. And they were able to come up with something that was transformative. What you are doing, or what they are doing with this Ghostbusters deal this year, by what I can understand and see, is not that. It's not that. It sadly does seem very much like it is just a launch pad for something that doesn't really need to be in film. Not a film like that. You don't try to make that kind of a point in fucking Ghostbusters. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. If you want to make that kind of point, you can do that. You really can. But do you really want to try to do that in the Ghostbusters franchise? A comedy franchise. That's where I think a lot of people have a problem with it. And that's where I think a lot of folks are very much either disinterested or they sort of just disavow themselves from it. Because they're trying to do something like this to the Ghostbusters franchise, which is a comedy franchise as opposed to a drama series, as opposed to like an action series that perhaps could be about a little bit of empowerment, where you could actually shift up. Like, here's the thing. Fucked up truth here. You did this, if you did this to, say, Jason Bourne, and he has a sister that somehow is also a part of the program that made Jason Bourne, they didn't know they were sisters, estranged from birth, whatever, and you tried to pull some of this shit where it was all about empowerment and she kicked people's asses because she was wronged while she was a part of the company and blah, 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 works a whole hell of a lot better. Think about the girl with the dragon tattoo. Think about that. That worked really well. The remakes of those, not bad. The originals, fucking nuts. Ridiculous. Really drove home the message. Very well, by the way. The novels also, from what I understand, are terrific. But Ghostbusters? Really? That's all I'm really saying. That's all the more it is. That's all the more it is. If you want to make a message in a film, that's fine. It's honestly, the message is really not the biggest part of the problem. It's the message that you're trying to make in the Ghostbusters film franchise. Where this film should have just been about going around, having a little bit of fun, catching some ghosts, having an attractive plot line that was a little bit coherent. Really hard to do in a remake in 2016, I understand that, because the writing on these films has been so fucking lazy. It's absurd. Do we have original thoughts in Hollywood? And yes, we do. They're usually from novels, so not really original, but it actually makes for stunning visuals whenever they're transformed into film. Hi, The Revenant. High Gravity. Actually, hi, The Martian, too, because, damn. Hi, The Bourne Identity. Hi, The Bourne Supremacy. Hi, The Bourne Anything. Jason Bourne's coming back. Can't you tell? I'm a bit excited. Man, oh man, oh man. It would be like trying to make a sequel to Fight Club and having it be about how fighting is not the answer. That's the message. And they drive it home absurdly, like bam, 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 like they smack your face with it, and then they kick your dick with it. Like they literally fight you with the idea fighting doesn't solve anything. It'd be like the Hangover series trying to promote sobriety. Maybe in a way it is, considering how those nights have gone. All three of them. But it would be like the idea of the Hangover 4 is the fact that they didn't drink, and you just track their very casual nights that is actually affected and made screwed up by the fact that people are drinking around them. And those people cause their night to become deplorable and terrible, and all of these bad things happen. They end up back at Mike Tyson's house, and a tiger bites Zach Galifianakis' cock off, and one of the other guys gets punched in the face because Mike Tyson is also drunk. He's reciting poetry, and the guy just says, "Mr. Tyson, I have to pee." Mike Tyson gets pissed off, punches him right in the face. Speaking of, Mike Tyson Mysteries is a cartoon. I didn't think much of this. Whenever I saw it was sort of done in that Hanna-Barbera style, I thought it's going to be kind of like, the Mr. T show that they had. It's actually really, really good. Mike Tyson Mysteries is actually really, really good.
Because it's chill. That's the thing. And it just goes all the way back to the Ghostbusters thing. Whenever you watch those films, they were chill. They had a little bit of gross outs. Maybe they had a couple scenes that were a little bit paranormal, made you think some things, Maybe tried to spook you a bit. Not high spooks, not horror movie level spooks, but spooks for laughs. They were chill films. They're films that you could show your children whenever they reached a certain age. And they would grow to love them and appreciate them as well. Believe me, I've seen that happen. I've seen that occur. But whenever you try to attach an overly serious message that is already bombarded in the press, bombarded over social media, which is actually worse than being bombarded in the press, because something being bombarded in social media means that it's being seen by way more people way too often. And they're still going to get a lot of people to go see that film. But a lot of people, unless it gets some really, really strong first weekend reviews by honest folks, I'm not talking from, the mass media, but from honest yes men and women, your friend that you trust because he has good movie taste comes back and says, "You know what? I really thought that Ghostbusters movie was going to suck dick, but it was pretty damn good." Kind of like what happened with Batman vs. Superman, where you thought it was going to just be this huge train wreck. Then you went and saw it, and you were like, "Yeah, it was kind of all right." I haven't seen the film, so I don't know. But a lot of the people that I've seen, a lot of the, the people who I kind of trust their opinion a little bit, I don't take it to "Oh, shit, gotta throw my money at it now." No. The people that at least I feel have a competent enough opinion come back and say, "You know what? I thought that was going to blow, but it was pretty good." I can admit that. Respect. I have respect for that. Whew. Oh, man. Have I seen 2001: A Space Odyssey? Oh, man. Yes. Fantastic. Fan-fucking-tastic. Oh, man. I just got all fired up about that. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's honestly why I don't do film reviews, right there. Because I really didn't talk about any of the plots of any of those films. I just spoke about the big picture. More of a commentator than actually a reviewer. Did he? Did Jack Black do a really good job as Zorro with the Goosebumps flick? I have not seen. See you later, Mr. Ed. Goodfellas is great. Goodfellas is a really, really strong film. It's not one... Here's the weird part about Goodfellas, is that it's not one that I find myself always wanting to go back to and watch through the whole entire thing. I really like watching through the first half, seeing the ascent. But then once we get to the eventual disillusion and the climax, it's not that I lose interest, it's just that I love the first half of that movie probably about 10 times more.
That's just personal. But like the very, very ending, that's worth it. There's a film. There's a film, and I think it was the middle part of the 90s that was really, really solid. It was kind of like an infiltration. It was an infiltrating the mob type flick, and I'm trying to recall its title. Man, it was really, really good. I'm trying to recall who's even in it. I want to say Johnny Depp is actually in it. This is going to kill me until I think of the title. It really is. Oh, Casino is oh, God. Casino is amazing. Casino is terrific. My God. That's a super duper, like, masculine movie. I get that. Casino's super good. What the fuck is the name of this film? I feel like it's like a J something. Balls. Man. I'm gonna have to look this up. Donnie Brasco! No, I don't have to look it up. RJ, you're the fucking man. So good. Donnie Brasco's so freaking good. Oh my God. That movie's ridiculously awesome. Speaking of Johnny Depp, if you've not seen The Ninth Gate, do yourself the favor. One of my best, top 10 films right there. I love that movie. Man. Holy shit, so good. It's a Roman Polanski flick, too. It shows a little bit. He has a couple fetishes that are kind of trademark. But a really, really strong film. And if you're a metal fan, you'll really appreciate it based off of the topic. And the ending of that film is... damn. Let's just say Johnny Depp's character gets to have sex outside of a burning building with a super hot chick. It's amazing. Favorite TV show? House MD. That's probably not going to change for a long time, although I just did a big post over on the CKN page about Wentworth Miller, who was on Prison Break. That'd probably be in my top 10. Am I excited for the new Nails album? I guess so. I've never been head over heels over Nails. I'm not going to hammer the nails into the boards, so to speak. But yeah, it has the potential to be pretty good. I think that'll be pretty good. Outlaw Josie Wells. Oh man. Now we're getting deep. I like it. I like it a lot. Clint freaking Eastwood, dude. My father is like a Clint nut. Like, I really wish that Clint's name was like... No, I guess it sort of works. He's like a Clint wit. He has so many of his movies, most of which that I've got it for him. It's to the point where he had them on DVD, and then he bought a Blu-ray player, and like the first thing that he wanted to do was to update all of his Eastwood flicks from DVD to Blu-ray. It's really fucking... It was kind of actually adorable, in a way. Like, I don't use words like adorable and cute very often. I've been using them more lately because they are really, really... They're quite fitting descriptors. They're very good adjectives. Or adverbs. Adjectives. They're adjectives. Whatever. Why am I even debating this? I know a friend that is an English teacher. She could tell me. And also tell me what brand of gin she's currently drinking, which apparently is quite cheap. But, yeah. Oh my gosh. No, let's not talk about Rush Hour. No. Has anyone had that moment where you hear a song playing over and over in your head and you don't know which song it is or who it's by? I've had that moment with Owner of a Lonely Heart and Jet City Woman. Yes. Trying to remember exactly which track it is. Oh wait, no, I do remember. There was a long period of time, and this was in the latter portion of the 90s and the first part of the 2000s, whenever the Offspring were a really big thing. Where you weren't sure if you were hearing Pretty Fly for a White Guy or Rock of Ages. Now that usually ended up very poorly, because I started off really liking the Offspring. Americana was a really good album. But I heard those songs so damn much that it actually turned me off from the band for quite some time. Like, I listened to the follow-up to that album, and I didn't really like it. And I hear their most recent stuff is just deplorable garbage. And honestly, Def Leppard's another band that is kind of in that same vein. Like, they had a really, really solid 1980s catalog. The 90s started off, and they have just slowly but surely, like, sort of circled the drain. It's pretty sad, actually.
Steven, what's going on, mate? I have not been watching much of Dragon Ball Super. One of the blokes I'm living with actually has seen pretty much the whole thing and has kind of kept up. But I know that the majority of the first episodes are sort of like retellings of the two movies that they've come up with, only they kind of provided a little bit more, like setup and things like that and all that. Oh, what do I think of women? Oh my. People probably think that I'm a womanizer in some ways, in some circles. Right now, most of my really good friends are of the female persuasion. I don't have a lot of male friends. And that kind of happened more so by accident. Weirdly enough, a lot of the female friends that I have right now have been my friends for a long time. Really, really long time. I would say one of my eldest friends in that department is now 16 years that we have been friends. And then with the others, it's like 8 or 9. There was one actually that I knew her back in like 2001, but we didn't become like friends until 2010 or 2011. We're still friends. Another one's 2008, so that's like 8 years. Have I gotten friends in? No, actually, a lot of those friendships were the whole entire design, actually, of the one person who is an English teacher. She came into Spencer's. I used to work at Spencer Gifts. And I'm not looking to meet people at work or anything like that, but she worked in the mall as well. And I asked her for her email address for some promotion we were doing at that store, and I liked the email address so much that my response to her was, "I must know you." And she agreed. She's like, "Yes, you should know me. I wish to know you." I was like, "Okay." But no, I don't know what it is. Like, I just got to have like kind of a good time. You know, I'm very chill. I'm very low key. At times, whenever I've done the videos, I probably come off as extremely super duper anxious and high strung and yell and scream and blah, 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 and all this other crap. But in most cases, all I kind of want to do is just chill out and just talk, similar to what we're doing here. I just really enjoy conversation. I like people to a certain degree. I find that if many folks are in the same room and they're talking about something and they have this like really, really short-sighted or like very shitty opinion about something, and shitty is really a bad word to use. I think it's like they just parrot popular opinions where it doesn't seem like they're using any sort of actual like original, true, individualistic thought. I don't say a word because there's no point. Like, there was a time in my life where I always wanted to blow people's minds, okay? And after you try to do that a couple of times and you realize that they don't actually give a fuck, they act like they give a fuck because they want the attention to sort of come back to them and all that, the minute that you present them... okay. You know how people describe Donald Trump as the kid that gets up to do a presentation without reading the material? You know, he tried to write the paper without knowing anything about it, so he just like repeats themselves and stuff like that. You've seen the memes, I'm sure. People like that irritate me.
Because even if you present them with a counter argument that has, like, even if the counter argument is complete bullshit, I'll give you a great example. Because I actually used to hang out with a huge group of people. How old was I whenever I lost my virginity? I will actually disclose that information. I'm actually okay with that. 18. I've been 18 for probably about 2 weeks, give or take. Like, the actual thought and concept, and like there was a lot of times where it was very, very close with the same person, mind you, but it wasn't until I was 18, and it was mainly waiting for her comfort. Weirdly enough, I wasn't exactly in any sort of great rush. I wasn't in any sort of great rush, but quite frankly, 28, yeah. It was just 3 years ago. It was a really great experience, and ever since then, I've had way more sex than I need. Anyway. So I used to hang out with this, I called it a large group, but it really was more of a group of like 9 or 10. What kind of sex? Good sex. Period. I'm not getting into this conversation. How many times did you visit Cornhub yesterday, Corrosion? Anyway, so I hung out with this group that was probably about 9 or 10 of us. I mean, the number kind of fluctuated from day to day, and one of them was very high-strung about children. No, not children, low-income folks. That's what it was. It's two completely different things there. Yeah, about 10 times every hour. That's right. Exactly. Listen, if you don't go to Cornhub 10 times every hour, I don't know what you were doing with your April Fool's Day. Because that was some funny fucking shit. That was great. Anyhow, this bloke and a couple of his buds had these like really like glaring opinions about low-income welfare folks and folks that just didn't seem to do anything. And they were especially very, very critical of people who were selling drugs. And that was all that they did. Like, they were on welfare, they sold drugs, they drove around in nice vehicles and had nice things, but they were on welfare. And that's something that's quite commonplace in this area, sadly. This is quite a low-income area. And so I heard them talking about this one night, and I offered some counter arguments, and then also some support, because I've seen like the worst side of this county more often than I like, working directly in the service business within the county. But this was whenever I was first starting to really kind of get to know the group. I didn't know this group from the time I was like 12 years old, so I didn't know really what their lives were sort of all about. And we were meeting in this gent's two-story, middle-class looking home, so I, of course, originally assumed that it was his, and that he was doing something with his life, and then I realized and was I was kind of brought up to speed with the reality of things here by one of my friends. She said, as we were traveling on our way home, she said, what the fuck, why did a name omitted, where does he come off talking about all this shit whenever all he does is sit at home all day, he collects, that same welfare, he gets his medication each and every month for shit that he doesn't even have, he doesn't work, he just gives out the medication like fucking candy, or he sells it, and all he does is smoke pot, and has stupid opinions that thinks that he's an oversight from whenever he's right within the same category. Every single time he talks, it's like he's describing himself. And originally I'm thinking that can't possibly be true, you're just, what do you got against name omitted? What the fuck, Seemed like an alright guy, he was willing to present the arguments. They were very circular. There was a lot of popular opinion in there, but it's a popular opinion of the area, so, you don't think much about it. Cut to about 2 or 3 months later, whenever I'm starting to realize that this guy is trying to hit me up each and every time that I'm at work and stuff, and just random hours of the day. He just wants to hang out, random hours of the day, and I'm starting to pick up on this. I'm like, man, he really doesn't do anything. She was fucking right. And then, first of the month came out. All of a sudden he had money. He had these pills that he was trying to give out to everybody, to the whole group. And I'm like, oh boy. Should have listened. So yeah, it was an interesting experience that now, oh my, the glaring opinion by now should have changed. And that's the one big thing I will say. It's one thing if you are in a position in your life where you have encountered some hard times and you grow from it and something changes and you make an effort. What has essentially happened, why I no longer associate with this group, is for very good reason. All the members of this group, we have all grown up, we have all moved forward, and essentially this gent, whose father's house we were actually going to, whose father was sleeping each and every night whenever we were down there talking, whose father was sleeping where we had to keep things at a hushed tone at times, unless, of course, he was talking, the son was talking, he could talk as loud as he wanted, it's his house, who I was bringing cheap beer, well no, not cheap beer, I was the one bringing the low to mid-grade beer to, as a courtesy, because I was drinking their cheap beer for nothing, smoking their really cheap pot for nothing. Yeah. We've all moved on. He has not. There you go. I did cut my hair. I did get a haircut this past week. I went up to a local barbershop and told them to take off a little bit more in the back, because whenever it gets to that middle range between this short and like the length that I had it whenever I first started reviewing, it is a tremendous pain in the ass, and it looks awful. It looks like trash. Ted Nugent 2016. I hope that that's for him to die, quite frankly. Because Uncle Teddy, Robin Williams had a phrase for what I consider Uncle Teddy right now, and that's Uncle Teddy right now is kind of like that uncle that's on a new medication and they can't get the dosage right. Hasn't quite gotten it yet. She Moves On. It's a really good song. Hey, what's going on, Andrew? You're just joining in, and I'm about to probably head out here very shortly. I've actually been here about a half an hour longer than I had my designs on, so I'm a little bit tardy for my other engagement. So there are a couple different versions of She's Moved On, but I'm going to head out. I'm going to head out for now. But I do thank each and every one of you for being a part of this stream tonight. I was really glad that we were able to hang out for so long. Oh, you just got home from a gig, Kevin. I'm actually just heading out, which is a shame because this is actually the highest watch count that we have right now. I should keep going, but I made a commitment. But alright, guys, this one I'm going to toss onto YouTube, so if you just came in and you want to know what the whole stream was about, it should be up probably within 10 years, because it takes forever for these things to fucking go onto YouTube. Yeah. But I'll chat you guys later. Obviously Patreon, blah, blah, blah. YouTube, check out for that stuff. We have new reviews from November coming tomorrow. And a couple of others. Music Madness, if you haven't gotten your vote in yet for Music Madness, that's going to be up until tomorrow at 12 or 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you and good night. And we may actually do another stream tomorrow. We might actually do another stream tomorrow. So if you just came into this one here, if you're a little bit late, I usually stream around this time. But tomorrow, I'm actually going to, if I do stream, and this is a big if, because tomorrow is WrestleMania, the last episode of The Walking Dead, blah, blah, blah. If I do stream, it'll be a little bit earlier. It'll be early afternoon, probably 4 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you look on here and I'm not streaming, then there's a good chance I'm not streaming tomorrow, but I'm trying to get one in. I'd like to get one in. So, alright guys, I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you. No, thank you, Sebastian. I know that I've given you some things, but you've given me more with your view, with your watch, your loyalty, all that stuff. Blah, blah, blah. I will chat with you guys later. Peace.